Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc., the channel all about bringing you as much nerdy content as possible. This week for you, I am in Dragon Village M, and we're going to be reviewing this brand new dragon that everyone is going crazy for. That's it. Yep, it's Mummygon. This thing could do some damage. Let's get into this review. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm always trying to put out Dragon Village M content for you guys every single week, as well as other content when I can get around to it. Here recently, it's been mostly just Dragon Village M, so hopefully you guys enjoy the content. If you really enjoy what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll have a link in the description below, and you can go there, and through that you can get access to my private Discord server. If you ever need any help in any of these games that I play, you know, just put in a message there and I can answer it pretty quickly. I've got it on my phone, so I can respond to messages pretty fast, right? As well as get shout outs, that sort of thing, in my videos every single month. So just cool stuff like that. But let's look at this guy, Mummygon. So it's kind of interesting. He's basically just a dragon wrapped in some cloth. He's an attack type, and we got 4 elements, all but the light type, which isn't necessarily a problem, and I'll show you why later. This, and its flavor text here is, this dragon inhabits the depths of a dungeon. As he constantly fights, whether it is enemy or friend, he always ends up wounded. So that right there doesn't sound too good, but nevertheless, let's get into this. Let's look at this guy's skills. What he looks like, right? So, not too much of a difference. That's kind of cute where he sits on the ball of toilet paper looking stuff. Earth. Oh, you notice their eyes change. So, he's got the heart in the eye. He's like, oh, what is that? The lizard with the, is it the chameleon? I think that's got the slit eye like that. Fire type. He's got a little fire, tiny fire in there. Also, really cool horns. And then dark type. Oh, I didn't notice that his ball is basically a little haunted ghost there. That's kind of neat. But yeah, so let's look at these skills. Basically, these dragons are pretty much all identical, all the elements, just slight variations. So what it is throw a bomb wrapped in bandages to inflict damage. Inflict 3 times damage to water enemies. That's for the earth type. Water type is fire. Fire type is earth. So you see, it's whatever element they're strong against, they're really strong against when it comes to their drag skill. Same for dark type against the light. Okay. So if you recently saw one of my videos where I talk about 3-star dragons, I talk about Spiral. Spiral is probably the best dragon, or at least was the best dragon in the game for the top team for Clan Dungeon. Because Clan Dungeon, on that top team, you only have 1 enemy that you're fighting. So you just do, if you can find a dragon that does attacks 1 target, that's the dragon you need to have on the top, your top team, right? And if you can get a dragon that does 3 times damage on its skill against the element that you're up against, that it gets its bonus against, I mean, you can do crazy, crazy damage. However, the drawback to that is these guys don't do nearly as good against anything else. So if you use this earth type against any enemy except water, he's not going to hardly do anything. Because normal dragons that are attack types, their drag skills are like scale off of attack, or scale off of crit rate, or crit damage, something like that, which applies to anyone that they target. However, with these guys, they're only going to get those benefits against their specified enemy. But because of that, instead of like 1.7 damage, or, you know, something like that, usually it's about 1.7. Very few dragons in this game have a 3-time damage boost. Everyone was going crazy for the spirals, right? Because they're like the best option for that top team. But these guys, I think Apple also does 3 times damage, but they're a 2-star. But every time you go up in rarity from 2-star to 3-star, and now Nat 4s here, Mummygon, those base core stats that they have are just at vanilla, unleveled, level 1 still, no evolution. Each time you go up in rarity, those base stats are just a little bit better every single time. So when you get them maxed out level 60, your 4 stars are just naturally going to have higher stats than your 3 stars. So as well as that, usually every time you bump a rarity, your passives here or your extra abilities, they just get a little bit better. So instead of Spiral's like, okay, I've got my drag skill is super good, but my other skills are kind of lacking. I believe it's, yeah, right here. So the passive right here is your attack is increased by 12%. That's just a blanket ability. On the Spirals, I believe it's a little bit less. Let's just take a quick look right here. Spiral. Where are we at? Yeah. So 10%. So instead of a 12% buff, it's only a 10% buff. So it's just a little bit better in all these different aspects. So that's what makes these guys, people going crazy for them, is because basically they just took the Spirals, made a rarer version of them, and just gave them a little bit more of a buff. So while they do pretty much the same thing, they just do it a little bit better. They hit a little bit harder. So that's where these guys are coming into play. That's why people are loving them so much. So second passive, or the first passive, I guess, second skill here. Every set duration, inflict damage to a random enemy. Inflict 1.5 damage to water enemies. So again, you're getting the correct enemy that they're good against, and you're doing damage. And it says random and only hits one enemy, and of course you can bump up the damage, but it's every 10 seconds, and if it's random and you're only fighting one enemy, top tier or top level clan, it's a guaranteed you're going to be hitting the same person over and over. So not only are you getting that really good drag skill, but even when you're not using it, you're still getting this skill every 10 seconds without a mana cost. So that's huge, and you're going to get that on all these guys just the same. Alright, and then passive here, so attack, I believe they're all attack, yep. So 12%, and this isn't even the final one. And on the Spirals, remember, we didn't get the flat buff until the very last passive. So 12% attack increase, that's a pretty good chunk of change. It's about half a rune, I would say, maybe a little less, depending on the rarity of your rune. And then on top of that here, every set duration increased crit rate. So for 10 seconds, there's no way to decrease the cooldown because it is the last skill. So that's kind of a shame. But, I mean, hey, crit rate buff, usually on your runes, you never go probably over 70, maybe 80%, depending on the dragon. If it's a dragon that their drag skill scales off of crit rate, then you're going to want to have 80%. Because after that, you're going to have your tamer bonus, maybe a leader skill bonus. So that's going to be 2, and that's going to get you up to 100 on those. For dragons like this, that they don't scale off a crit rate, you could have it lower and have like maybe 70% crit rate. And after your tamer skill and your leader skill, if you have it, they'll be close to 100, maybe about 90-ish range. But then with this, every time you get that crit rate buff, it's a guaranteed crit on everything that they do. So these guys throwing down, doing some major damage to your clan dungeon boss, okay? Is there a benefit for these guys anywhere else? Not a whole lot. You're not going to want to use them in PvP at all because you don't know what you're fighting in PvP. Your enemies are always random. You build your team before you go in. And maybe if you're doing a really hard adventure mode or a really hard Tower of Tests that you can't quite beat the final boss on, Tower of Tests could be a pretty good option for them because you see the final boss before you ever even start the level. So these guys might be pretty beneficial there to just drop that boss with some major hits. I usually use my light clown dragon for scenarios like that. Maybe not for Tower of Test, but at least Ancient Tower. I think that's the one. I use my light clown dragon for that, but he's a 3 mana cost. So these 2 mana costs that getting that 3 times buff on the correct element, that's even better. So they're going to be hitting way harder. Runes are super easy. You're going to want, like I said, you're on about 70% crit rate. So you might have, your 4-slot crit rate, maybe 1 set of crit rate runes, depending. If you can get crit damage runes across the board, and so you're going to want attack percentage, crit rate, attack percentage for your percentage runes, and then go all crit damage, and have your substats have some crit rate in there. So you just have your, and this is for, I'm talking, these are serious runes here, like level 6-star runes here. So you're getting that big buff from your crit rate. So if you can get about 70%, so your main stat is going to be about 40-something percent. I think it's like 42% off of for crit rate on that 4 slot. And then if you can get 28% off of substats all added up off of the other 5 runes, then go crit damage across the board with these guys. Okay. Other substats, more crit damage if you can get crit damage on the substat, attack percentage on the substat. Those are going to be your main things that you're going to want on substats. So attack percentage, crit rate, attack percentage, all crit damage, and these guys are going to throw down like nobody's business. I think that's probably going to be the best way, the most maxed out damage you could ever do on these guys, and they're going to hit for millions of damage in Clan Dungeon. Once they get maxed out, 6-star, take them all the way up with masteries, enhancements. Enhancements are easy. They're nat 4s, not as easy as spirals. Spirals are still going to be way easier to get masteries and enhancements on, but 4-star isn't terrible. 4-star is relatively easy, especially enhancement. Even masteries, yeah, I'd say even masteries are pretty easy, as long as you're not dealing with maybe the dark type here, right? Getting dark and light types for masteries are a little bit more difficult than these up here, but still doable. 4 stars are no problem. Now, what I mentioned earlier about the fact that there's no light type, right? That is a shame. It is kind of a bummer, because we could get across the board here. However, thankfully, I think they thought this one through. So the spirals here, there's a light type for the spirals. There's no dark type for the spirals, but we do get the light. I'm glad they didn't do the same 4 elements on both, so you still have that option to replace the one for the light and dark type dungeons. Okay, for these other 3 up here, I don't really see a problem with running Spiral and Mummygon. Everyone was saying, a lot of people were saying, I wouldn't say everyone, a lot of people were saying, oh yeah, replace Spiral with Mummygon for Clan Dungeon. Replace? Why not run both? God, could you imagine? I mean, I do about 40 million, and I'm still running my spirals. I'm still trying to get them maxed up there. They're level 50, all of them, not 6-starred though. So I'm still running my light clown dragon. Man, if I was running Spiral and Mummygon, you better believe I'd be tearing it up. I'd be 70 million, maybe more. Yeah, I think they'll be really good. Mummygon is awesome. If you've got one, and you have the time, I wouldn't say like jump on it right now. It's the first thing to do, because it's only going to be useful in select content. If you're still newish to the game, still trying to build up a team, hang on to it. You might not worry about rushing it up right now. Hang on to it. Do not get rid of it. And once you get to that point where you're like, all right, I need to start building my clan dungeon team, getting a little bit stronger, then focus on this guy, like probably first thing. This is after you get your base team, a decent PvP team, and a decent adventure mode team. Get those going. Usually run a couple Wonder Dragons, Water and Dark Wonder Dragon, with what is it, Earth Witch Dragon or Fire Witch Dragon, to make them invulnerable forever. Or I say invulnerable, make them zombie state forever. and you can clear all that content. You can use them for PvP. You can clear all of adventure mode, no problem. And then you can start focusing on other things, right? So save it for that, and then Mummygon will definitely treat you very well later on in the game. For you people that are already at that point and you get one of these guys, get on it. Power this guy up. Throw him in on some clan dungeon. Also, if you haven't already, start working on some spirals. I'm at that point now where I'm like, man, I waited way too long to work on spirals, and I'm trying to get there as fast as I can. Alright, but that's all I've got for you guys. I hope this video was helpful. People have been asking for it. A lot of people are hyped for this dragon, and that is why. Thank you guys for watching. Please, if you made it this far in the video and you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I'm always trying to put out content like this, reviews for dragons and everything I can to help you out. That's the whole reason I do this. I don't make a whole lot of money. I've got just a couple Patreon people that support me, but I do it to help you guys, help out the community, so that way this game can grow. If we don't have enough people, then the game runs the risk of dying off, and I really enjoy this game. I don't want that to happen. Alright, but with that, I'll see you next time.